All right, sorry, I got another important one, guys. One of my sites, my main money sites crashed. How do I find out that penalty, which penalty it was? Well, you have to investigate. I mean, if you have a manual action, a manual penalty, there will be a notice inside of Google Search Console. So if your site's connected to Search Console, go look at the left side for notifications or manual actions, and you can see if there's a manual penalty. If it's algorithmic, then you have to kind of determine that through a number of different processes. You look at backlink, analytics, for example, like using some sort of backlink analysis tool, SEMrush or Ahrefs or something like that. And you might be able to determine what if it was caused because of bad backlinks. You could also look. There's a number of things that you could do, like do a brand search or a domain search. Search for the domain and see if it ranks #1 for the brand name or for the domain name. If it doesn't, then it's likely an on-page penalty of some sort. So there's a number of things that you can do, but it requires investigation. You want to comment on that, Marco?
No, we're good.
Okay, moving on. And do you know if it works when you create a new site and do this? Penalized money site 301 through a shortener, then 301 to a blog post, then 301 to a new website. Will this remove the penalty? You know, possibly for a period of time, but it could also catch up eventually to the end final destination, right? The target destination anyways. So that's a kind of a trick that we used to use years ago when we used to spam domains. We used to spam subdomains to power them up, like for essentially to manipulate domain authority. And that used to work, but it's not something that we've done for many, many years. But way back when we used to do that, that's one of the things we would do, is a double redirect to basically launder any negative potential from those domains. But again, that's been 5 or 6 years since I've done anything like that, because our methods just don't require that. And honestly, we would recommend, and a lot of the times, just to start over, because you can get you can get really good results with the SEO shield and backlinks to that, the way that we teach, and get them rather quickly too, than trying to recover something like that. I can tell you right now, if it's like a backlink penalty and all that, that's a real pain in the ass to try to get lifted. And doing these double types of redirects or triple redirects, I don't know if that would work. It may work for a period of time. It could end up hurting you in the long run. And then you've just added more work on top of something that was already tanking or sinking. Does that make sense? So any comments on that, guys?
I haven't seen manuals in a really long time.
Me neither.
It's usually algorithmic. Look, Google doesn't have the time, or believe it or not, the people to go after your stinking website in the first place. You're not making enough money. You're not making enough noise for Google to come after you. It's when you start making noise, and noise meaning how much money you're siphoning from Google. Google's after those North Koreans, the Ukrainians, people in Malta, former KGB, all these people who set up these really intricate networks to burn Google for hundreds of millions of dollars. We're not talking pennies here, right? Right now, I mean, even if you drain Google for a couple of mil, it's nothing. Literally, in the grand scheme of $1 trillion company, a couple of $1 million is nothing. You do that often enough, and you know the spidey sense will start triggering. The thing is, if you set off enough triggers in the algorithm, enough red flags, you'll go on the list, and someone will eventually come looking. It's a lot easier for them, though, to just trigger an algorithmic penalty and let you figure out what the hell it was you did to trigger this algorithmic penalty. I would use the site : operator to go and look if you're still indexed. If you're still indexed, you're good. Then that means that something you did on site is the problem. I can almost guarantee that it's not link building, because Google simply devalues links that aren't relevant. I mean, we've hit our stuff with millions of backlinks and never had any issues through the SEO shield. If you fuck with the money site now, if you do shit directly to the money site, which is against everything we teach, then you're on your own. Because we tell you how to do it right. We've been telling you for years, don't hit your money site. Because if you do, Google has some shit for you in store. If you go through Google the way that we do, Google doesn't burn Google. It's proven time and again, Google loves Google. Google is narcissistic. Google trusts Google. Nobody has more authority on the web than Google, because Google is Google. And so that's why we're there. So on all of these things, like how can you figure out if there's a penalty? Well, you would have gotten a notification in your search console. I haven't seen those in a long time. And I do some nasty shit, guys, all open from signed into Google from my IP. I have a static IP just for that purpose. So I can send all of this spamosity, all this spamish awesomeness into the Google ecosystem. And I'm not seeing anything. I'm waiting because it's the algorithm taking over, right? It's the artificial intelligence taking over. And the way that we're doing it is such that the algorithm would have to hit itself in order for Google to come looking for you. So it's kind of what we're, not kind of, but it's what we're shielding ourselves against. It's what we're doing and what we're teaching and showing you guys to do. So having said all that, use the site colon operator. If it's not de-indexed, it's simply penalized. Now you have to go and find out what the penalty is. Are you over optimized? Is it link building? Well, in Search Console, you'll see what links are indexed and whether you've been doing what we recommend, which is the 3 pillars: activity, relevance, trust, and authority. If your links are relevant, if they have activity, and have become trusted, authoritative because you sent them through your SEO shield and through Google. I mean, that's the best thing I can tell you.
Oh yeah, by the way, the other thing about that, Dustin, is if your site tanked, and I'm surprised Margaret actually didn't mention something like this, it could be completely an entity issue as well. You know, I've actually experienced that with one of my more recent projects. Is there was some ambiguation with the entity itself, and it took literally months to disambiguate it to where now when I do a brand search for that, my domain comes up #1 for that, which it should, and pretty much the first 2 pages, except for like one listing, one indexed result is owned by branded assets, right? So entity assets. But it took months to actually get to that level, and it was a real pain in the ass. So if you have, if your entity is ambiguated, right? If it's not a strong entity, then that could also cause a problem. So, and I've seen that happen. I've seen that happen with one of my own projects too. So.
Entities could be an issue, but from what he's saying, site-wide tanking,
Yeah,
I would say
most
that,
likely a penalty.
yeah, it's different than if your brand is ambiguous. You go and look, just do a brand search and see what appears. That'll tell you.
Yeah.